What is good, my friends out there in internet land? It is that time again, and you know what time I'm talking about. Yes, it is time for you to once again join us on the virtual couch that is the Split Screen Cynics Hangout because you love us, or maybe you hate us, but hate to love us because we're just going to keep on talking about video games. So either way, we're not going anywhere. So come once again as we talk all things video games. Join us on the couch, argue with us, disagree with us, but be our friend because we love you. I am Alberto, Berto to some, Albie to the one and only to other people who don't follow me on social media, which they should. And as always, I am joined by two of the coolest dudes I have the pleasure of knowing. My awesome co-hosts, Garrett. Garrett, how are you?
I'm good. I am good. I've played a lot of video games this week, and not the normal kind I would like to play, if you will. So we will talk about that later. But otherwise, I'm good.
That's good because this is a video game podcast, and we're about video games, so playing them is good. In addition to Garrett, we have with us, as always, Tim, who's one of the coolest dudes we know. Tim, how the hell are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm a little sleepy. All my game time is devoted to practicing for a playoff match on Thursday. But hopefully I can get that over with so I can get to the off season after losing. But yeah, that's what I'm up to.
Dude, you gotta have faith. You can't go into it with that attitude.
I have faith that we're gonna lose.
Oh, well, there's that always.
You sound like a Jets fan. It's like hearing me talking about the Jets.
Oh, didn't some good happen for the Jets?
Yeah, but it's the Jets, which means that they're gonna find some way to mess it up, or life was gonna mess it up for them somehow. They signed like some ridiculously good players, but again, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Jets fans, like, we've been beaten into submission so badly that when even when things go our way, we're like, just wait, we're gonna fuck up somehow.
Like,
just watch,
it's coming.
Exactly. It's like, just wait for it, and if like they win the Super Bowl, we're gonna be like, yeah, but just watch. Someone's gonna get arrested for something.
Yeah, someone will fall off a bus.
Yeah, we could never enjoy
Return the
good
Super
things.
Bowl.
Yeah,
Give it back.
we could never enjoy the good things that happen to us.
What's happening with my hair? I didn't shower today, if you can't tell.
It looks good. I like it. I like that look.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Natural hair gel.
Yeah, right.
He's got that something about Mary thing going on. Before we get into the nitty gritty of the show, as always, we're going to do the housekeeping. You can find us pretty much on all the podcasting platforms out there: Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, itchy.io. Do they do podcasts on itchy.io?
Possibly.
In addition to where you can find us, want to touch on the last bit of housekeeping. Want to remind you guys that the Game Club game for the next episode is still Anthem, despite all the crap that's coming out against it. We will play Anthem for you. Send us your questions, send us your comments. If you guys are playing, send us your names on Origins and play with us. Let us know how you guys are liking it, and then we'll let you know what we think about it. Hint: I don't think the majority of us will like it.
We'll see. So far, I'm enjoying the hell out of it, but
oh, that's surprising because you were one of the ones that I pegged to be like, yeah, no, this game.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
So we will save those. We'll save our impressions for when we do the Game Club on the next episode for that segment 3. So join us. And the other bit of housekeeping is that the Split Screen Cynics, 2/3 of us, will be at PAX East in about 2 weeks' time. So if you are in Boston, definitely look us up. We will be there playing all the video games, and we want to meet any of the fans that we may have in the Boston area. So if you happen to listen to us, if you're one of the 39 listeners and you're also in Boston that weekend,
yeah, who knows?
Look us up. Want to play video games with you? We want to meet you guys. We want to be like, thank you for listening to us. Why do you do it?
Here's a cookie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
We'll give us a comment again.
If you come up to us in person and tell us that you're a listener and you can prove that you're a listener, we will give you a cookie in person.
Yeah. Or a voucher for a cookie.
or a voucher for a cookie to be claimed at a later date. I'm just gonna carry around cookies in my pockets.
Oh God,
that's not gonna be weird at all, right?
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Oh, thanks for listening. You want a cookie? And I just pull it out of my pocket.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
All right, maybe I won't do
We'll
that.
see though. There is one other cool little thing there. We're actually going to be there with essentially Hold Up a Sec, which is half of Alberto.
That's right.
But Andrew will be there. Shout out to Hold Up a Sec. They actually did a little preview episode if you want to go check that out. I don't know, Hold Up a Sec podcast or whatever. But we'll probably be, I believe we're going to be sort of not exactly live recordings, but quick recordings while we're there. Is that the plan, Berto?
I mean, we're going to do some kind of collab. So we're just going to bring all the recording gear, and after the day's events are done and we saw all the games, we'll just set up all the recording gear and talk about everything we saw, and we'll have drinks on hand, and we won't be responsible for what the podcast evolves into.
Yeah, well, so, yeah, I forgot about the drinking aspect of it. But, yeah, definitely keep it tuned for that. We'll release some bonus episodes probably. And go check out Hold Up a Sec podcast. They got a cool little preview episode of some of the panels that look exciting and so on and so forth.
What you did just now, I could have sworn I heard like a chicken. It was like...
I heard a chicken too. I think that was Tim. Tim's got chickens.
Me? You holding out on us?
There was a chicken noise. I also heard that.
Okay, good. I was about to say, as long as I'm not going crazy, because when I see you were talking about the windows, and I hear like...
Yeah, maybe it was me. Maybe it was the power trying to come back on.
I don't know what it could have been.
I'm gonna switch it up.
I didn't hear it, so it must have been me.
It's gotta be Tim. He had chicken noises.
Tim's got
here.
chickens.
I'm gonna switch it up. Tim, what have you been playing? Take that, Berto.
Me.
Oh,
Tim first. It's just Counter-Strike.
it just got real.
I haven't even decided to make up what I was playing this week. No. I've been playing Counter-Strike as usual. In between the crevices of that, I've played some Devil May Cry. I've been enjoying that. It doesn't have the most depth, but I feel like that's that kind of the genre of game. It's kind of mindless, a little button mashy, but it's kind of what I want out of a game right now. And got to play a tiny bit of Anthem last night, despite Micro Center's best efforts.
Oh yeah, that was brutal. So you actually ended up paying for it, right?
I ended up paying for it. I'm officially disowning Micro Center as something I would love to recommend to people. It is now off my list.
Take that, Micro Center.
They have terrible customer service. They
knock them down a peg.
I called them like 6 or 7 times over the course of 3 weeks, and they kept on telling me they would get back to me, and they never did. Once I gave them my number at least 3 times, and they never called me. And if you want to get a computer, go to Micro Center, unless you want customer service.
Yeah.
Then you should probably go somewhere else.
If you want your free Anthem,
and just go to Amazon.
Because some Micro Center employees loving Anthem right now or hating it. Who knows?
Yeah, so,
have you gotten any S's in S ranks in Devil May Cry 5?
I have.
Ooh.
I've not got. I don't know if you can get above an S, because I know you can get up to 3 S's.
Smoking style in her, isn't it? Yeah.
But I've never gotten that for a level, but I have gotten some S's.
Oh.
So I'm not that good at it.
What are you playing that on? Steam, or did you get it for PS4?
I'm playing on Steam.
Okay, cool.
I'm playing with an Xbox 360 controller, and it's good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, definitely. That was one of the games that I wanted to try. I was a big fan of Devil May Cry growing up.
It's a little edgy.
Yeah. I kind of fell off at
What'd you say?
Devil May Cry. What's the one for 360 where you first play as Nero? And I'm like, yeah, I don't like Nero.
4 maybe or something? I've only played levels here and there.
Yeah, I haven't played that much Devil May Cry. I played a bit of 4, and I played a little bit of DMC, which people hated, but I didn't think it was that bad.
DMC was actually very good. DMC is sort of on the same level as Titanfall 2, in that I think it was really underrated, whereas Titanfall 2 kind of got overshadowed by other releases that it came out alongside. I think DMC, just people, like you said, they just hated it, or they didn't want like this reimagining, so they just let it fall by the wayside, but it's actually really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just kind of, it's a new version of a loved property that was, I think is still kind of considered somewhat niche. And I believe DMC was like the attempt to make it less niche, which never goes well as far as any video game brand. So I think it was just backlash from that. I've never actually played that one, but I have heard
it's still sort of the same
good
level of like seriousness or lack thereof as Devil May Cry. Uh, the dialogue in that game is just
It's a little
it's
cornier and a little
yeah
bit more Western,
yeah.
but I mean, this if you're not looking for a corny game, don't play Devil May Cry 5 because it's corny. It is
Yeah.
very corny.
I've seen there's
That's okay.
a lot of issues with the censorship of Sony USA. Apparently, they like censored parts, and of course, that's a big deal for video game players or whatever. Where they like lens flared a lady's butt out or something.
I did hear something about that.
Yeah. That's always like a funny controversy, but like it is weird because like Sony Japan didn't do it, Xbox didn't do it, PC didn't do it. So why did Sony USA?
I did see a butt. So
oh, you saw said butt. All right, nice.
I saw a butt. Maybe
How
it was a
was the
different
butt?
that was censored.
Oh, I don't know.
Was it a butt that looked like it was a butt through a lens flare?
I can't imagine how they could place a lens flare for this butt shot.
From the image I saw, it was like him carrying a lady, or someone was carrying a lady who appeared to be naked. And like the lens flare was just like shooting.
And then J.J. Abrams is like lens flare.
Like it wasn't. It was as if the sun was shining directly between the immediate gap on her legs that would start after the butt. If that makes sense.
So it's like a very particularly placed lens.
Yeah,
flare
like
to
it
just
doesn't
obscure the butt.
It doesn't make any sense. It looks absolutely ridiculous. But that was a bit of controversy. But that's actually been on my list. I want to get it. Partially due to the fact that the PC port is apparently amazing. We might talk about that a little bit later. Berto, what have you been playing?
So I got the nostalgia bug and felt like digging out my Switch, which has been neglected for a while. It's kind of just been sitting there, but I brought it back with me, fired it up, and been taking it with me on the train to work, and started playing The Messenger again and some Shovel Knight. Part of the reason why I wanted to get back into The Messenger is because they have that DLC that they announced for 2019. So I wanted to just get a little bit more messenger action. And plus, I never actually finished the messenger. I got about 75-80% of the way through the game. So I was like, maybe I might as well finish it before the DLC releases. And Shovel Knight, because I just love Shovel Knight. It's just a fun game.
That's a game that I own. I've had a friend play it at my house to show me how good it is, and I've just never gotten into it. I tried to play it a little bit, and like, I think just the beginning of it's kind of slow and not exciting, if that makes sense. Like the first level.
Yeah, the first level where it kind of like teaches you how to play. I can see how that is like.
It's so boring. Like it just feels like a Flash game.
It's co-opable. It's pretty fun with co-op.
I know it's a game I would like. I just have to get into it, and I've never sat down and gotten into it. I didn't know it was co-opable. That excites me greatly.
And you can make it even harder if you want.
I mean, that also excites me. So
yeah, because I think they have like an option where, because throughout the levels you have the different checkpoints that you come across, and you can either make it harder for yourself by destroying the checkpoints.
Oh.
And getting extra gold in return, but then if you die, you get sent further back. Or I think there's an option where it only gives you like one checkpoint in the entire level, if I recall correctly. But definitely the first one, if you go and you want to just make it hard for yourself, just destroy every checkpoint.
Like I have it. I think I got it through a Humble Bundle or something. So that's definitely on my list to play. It's funny because I'm reminded of Hollow Knight, similar for me. It's just games with night in the title. Because I have Hollow Knight on my Switch, and I was loving it, and something happened where something else came out, or I had to play another game for some reason, and I just haven't gotten back to it. And I'm just like, I just know I want to play it. I just don't for some reason. I think because, I mean, this week it makes sense because we got some games on our plate or whatever. But yeah, interesting. The Messenger. You told me about that one. I'm excited about that one too.
Yeah, that one's really fun. The twist that it has partway through the game is really fun. And it's, I don't know if it's been spoiled for you guys already, but if it hasn't, I don't want to say anything if you want to play it, because it is really fun.
It turns into a Metroidvania from a 2D side scroller, basically.
Okay, so
I think that's sort of part of
that's like part of it, where
about the game.
Like when you get to that point, it's like an 8-bit, even you get the 8-bit chip tunes to go along with the visuals, then all of a sudden it turns into the 16-bit Metroidvania style, and like the music changes. It's really fun.
All right, cool. Shovel Knight, did you play any of the DLCs for Shovel Knight? Because they have like
I've played both the ones that have released. I'm waiting for the third one, which is the King Knight one. So I've done Spectre of Torment, which is Spectre Knight, and then Plague of Shadows, I think is what it's called, with
that.
Plague Knight.
Okay.
I'm more of a fan of Spectre of Shadows because I like the way Spectre Knight plays a little bit more. Plague Knight is a little bit trickier to control, but I think his sort of storyline is funnier.
Interesting.
Yeah. So definitely recommend both games if you haven't played them. More so Shovel Knight since you already have it. Just once you get past that first level, it's all gravy from there.
I gotta jump on those, certainly.
I agree. You definitely need to jump on those. Start shoveling your way.
Or maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll do. No, you already played it. I'm trying to think of game.
I'll play again.
I think Ori and the Blind Forest would be a good Game Club game.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Is that on Steam though, or is that Xbox only?
Don't know.
Whatever. Who cares?
It's a good point. We'll figure it out. But in the meantime, while we're figuring that out, Garrett, how about you tell me what you've been playing?
A lot.
Okay,
and in a weird
that's
way.
a good thing.
So first thing, I got to shout out my buddy Vinny. Made me download Settlers of Catan on the phone.
God, why?
It's actually a lot of fun. I like Settlers of Catan.
Said no one ever about any game of Settlers of Catan.
Really? You don't like that game?
That game is just the Salt Factory.
I enjoyed the salt, if you will. Well, I played with him on the phone and it was great. I had a great time. That doesn't really count. It's a mobile game and it's not very good.
It's a board game.
But yes, it's just a weird board game. But
So
I
it
won
properly emulates the board game because that also is not very
No
good.
board games allowed on this podcast.
Yeah, that is true. All our Instagram, all the
Visual
Instagram guys I
entertainment.
follow would be pissed. We follow so many Instagram like board game podcasts. Also, I'm playing obviously Anthem with you guys, but I'm also playing the Division 2 simultaneously, which is just too much. Like the looter shooter or whatever. Like both are games that I normally wouldn't really play, except for like maybe casually. So Division 2 I actually got free with my processor. So I'm playing that. But I've been playing with Chris, who I played Division 1 with. My friend Marino got it because I think he had a free code or something. I actually lent Chris my laptop. It's this whole crazy situation.
Don't say free code around me. It gives me PTSD.
Whatever, Tim. I also bought Anthem.
You're going to trigger Tim.
We both are contributing to Anthem's coffers, which we shouldn't because it's apparently bad. But so far, so good. We'll see. What else did I play? I played 1 million GameCube games because I was testing them out because I downloaded a bunch of ROMs, which includes what was it?
Shrek Racing.
Shrek's Smash and Slash Racing. I did start a race in it and then promptly turned it off.
So it wasn't good.
I imagine that game would be great with friends. It's probably, I mean, on the website I got it from, it had 10s in every category from 8 reviews for gameplay, story.
Did the scale start at 10?
No. Like Ocarina of Time has like a 9.4.
And Shrek got a 10?
Yes. Yeah. It's really, it's that good.
I mean, I love Shrek.
That good.
I mean, I guess I love Shrek the movie, but I don't know if his video games are
Dude,
on the same
trust me.
level.
I think he peaked in Shrek Racing.
Yeah, that was better than the movie. We'll play it eventually. But yeah, Division 2 is pretty fun. It's definitely got a lot more to it than the first one as far as leveling and upgrade paths. And the AI is just way better, which helps because it's not just like you have to actually dodge things and stuff.
I heard the AI is kind of brutal and very bullet spongy.
So that's always been an issue in the game, and in general for those kind of games, I think, because in order to make them difficult, essentially you have to have some sponginess to the enemies. But anytime you increase the difficulty in that game, it's like just absolute bullet sponge machines. Which again is not really that bad of a thing because if you could just kill things real easily, like how do you make a boss, for instance, or something like that? But yeah, the AI, like I'm playing and I'm level like 6 or something, so I'm not that far into it. And they drive like remote controlled bombs. Like they have little RC cars with bombs, so they're doing that. They throw grenades. They move better. So it's a lot more challenging so far. But I'm just getting started with it, so that's pretty fun.
You said you played the first one too, yeah? Yeah,
I played the first one on PS4 with my buddy Chris. Co-op.
How is the environment? Because I didn't play the first one, I want to play the second one, but I didn't play the first. But one of the criticisms of the first one that I heard was that even though it's like in New York, and it's like, yeah, it's New York, it's a big city, but it felt like a very cold city. Like you would go into some of the buildings and there's literally nothing there. Whereas
it's a weird dynamic because the visuals are actually great in the games. They have a nice bit of color to them, which in post-apocalyptic first-person shooters that are realistic or third-person, whatever. Generally, there's not a lot of color going on there. I don't think, like especially in the first game, it was like wintertime in New York City. But it's weird because, and the new one's set in Washington D.C. and essentially like summertime, springtime. But having lived in New York City or near New York City enough, and then recently I traveled to Washington D.C. Like it's really weird how accurate the map is. Like I went to a Starbucks in Washington D.C. and they have like a cafe set up where the Starbucks was in the same spot. So it's kind of eerie. It's weird. It makes for a decent environment, but it's something about it just feels like kind of weird. And I don't know how to explain it really. It just doesn't feel like, having played Spider-Man recently, which I have been playing as well. Like that's like a lively, vibrant city because you see people and movement and stuff. And I know this is post-apocalypse or whatever, but like there's nothing really going on. It's just purely dudes shooting dudes or like a dog occasionally. And I think that's part of the issue, is that it just feels like a big movie set rather than like an actual rundown city or something like that. But we'll see as I progress. I've been to the White House and a few blocks from it, but not too far otherwise.
Look at you, Mr. I've been to the White House.
What are you gonna do? But yeah, like I don't know. It's weird playing two looter shooters at the same time. Like they're just both time consuming, weird games. So we'll see. Anyway, Tim, are you gonna win your playoff game? You think or no?
Oh,
No.
they're going to.
Like definitely not. Why not?
Because we're like the 244th seed out of 256.
Oh,
So we have to play like the 8th seed or something.
oh, so you're gonna play like a dynamite team?
Yeah. Listen, if you believe,
Miracles, dude.
and Garrett believes, and I believe, it can happen.
What map are you playing on, or do you not know yet?
We don't know until Thursday. It's the best 2 out of 3.
Oh, so you do 3 different maps essentially, or?
Well, 2 in our case.
Oh, jeez. Come on, Tim. You gotta have a better attitude.
You can't go in with that mentality. You gotta go in with that mentality of, listen, we're gonna take one of those 3 matches.
Yeah, maybe.
And then after that first one, you say, now we're taking the next one.
Tim's like, no, we're not.
Tim's like, no, I'm not gonna think like
I'm
that.
just looking forward to the weekend.
That's
I
fair.
just want my snow cone, I just want to have a good time and then go home and get McDonald's.
Spoken like a true champ. And on that note, let's take it over to our second segment where we break down the news in true Synics fashion. This is our cynical spin. Garrett, you want to take us through this first article?
Yeah, sure. So it was literally like an hour after our last podcast or the next day. I forget what it was. But basically Xbox did announce the future launch of a new console. It's not technically like a brand new console. Essentially, it's based on the Xbox One S, but it is a console lacking a optical drive of any sort. So it's going to be an all digital Xbox console. I believe it's codenamed Maverick at the moment, but they might have released. It's going to be called something stupid like Xbox One SD or some stupid thing. I don't know what they're calling it. It is not the Scarlet console, which is currently in development, which is their future, next gen, possible all digital console. But really, the reason I wanted to note this, and the new rumor is apparently it's going to drop in May, and it may be up to $100 less by shaving that little bit of hardware off, which seems surprising to me, to be honest. But I kind of wanted to mention this just because it's an interesting approach. And I think it's essentially the first digital console we've seen from a major kind of retailer. Am I wrong with that? Not a retailer, but a major
you
games
forgetting about the
company.
Ouya? That was all digital, baby.
Yeah, but the Ouya is that's hence why there was an amendment to my sentence, which was major game console. I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting to see from Microsoft because, like, what do you guys think? Obviously, they're kind of leaning into this streaming service kind of a
Oh
thing.
yeah, totally. They streaming, I think, not just for Microsoft, but I think everyone's kind of pointing towards the all digital streaming future. I actually looked when I read the news article. I looked into some other sites to get a little bit more background on this, and I actually think they dropped the official name for the console. Get this?
Oh, they did.
It's the Xbox One S All Digital Edition.
Oh, I was kind of close.
You were kind of close when you said it. I'm like, oh, that
One
was like on the
SD.
nose. So it's the Xbox One X SAD E.
Woof. Okay. Continuing Microsoft's trend of terrible names.
I mean, listen. I do think that we're going towards an all digital future. At some point, physical media just is going to cease to be a thing. Outside of the obvious problems with digital media, that it takes up space, it degrades over time. I think people just don't want all this stuff.
Yeah, you can't put it on the wall.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I like physical media. I like having a thing that I can just it's a tangible thing that I can pick up, but I can see why people are drawn to the all digital future and they want everything digital. Just pack in all that, all those terabytes onto the hard drive.
Now, Tim, what do you think about this? What do you think of an all digital console?
I mean, it sounds like heresy because I mean, when it comes to like video game consoles, the idea of physical media has always been appealing to me, but I mean, realistically, I don't remember the last time I bought a physical computer game, which is my primary console. So I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
From that aspect, but on the other side, I generally don't like these re-releases that consoles do. I find it's just like trying to squeeze drops of life out of like a dying, substance. And I got like the new 3DS one in the past, so I can't speak like I've never gone for one of these, but I feel like that had at least another thumbstick going for it, and which allowed me to play some games that I wouldn't normally play, namely Monster Hunter. And I don't know, it just in general when games do these kind of we're re-releasing the console, but it's like this now. I don't know. I mean, it's nice that it's going to be cheaper, but I don't see a lot of people getting Xbox Ones.
I kind of think, because I was trying to think of like who is this appealing to because essentially your late life cycle of the console, as well as I was wondering like if you already have an established collection of discs, like what do? You know what I mean? Like say your Xbox, there's a Red Ring of Death, or I don't know if they do that still or anything. But like you want to get a new one, this one's significantly cheaper. Like you have discs, say. Are you just shit out of luck for those games? You know what I mean? Like to me, the one thing I think that's weird about this is that it is midlife of the console. I do think the reason they're doing it is to kind of, tread the waters before their next release to really get people used to the idea. Because I agree with you, Tim. I'm like always like, oh, like digital copies, like bad, physical good. Even though I have 600 or so games on Steam that are only digital. So I think it's more of a move to kind of test the waters and appeal to people who maybe want either a second Xbox for like, traveling or their other house or for school or something. Or for people who just want some Xbox exclusives, possibly, who haven't bought the console yet. Because I just find it weird because I have Overwatch on disc for Xbox, so I wouldn't get it because of that. But we'll see, because I do think in the future more and more consoles are going to be leaning in this direction. Mm-hmm. I don't think like Nintendo or Sony are going to plan on cutting out their optical drive, but Microsoft is clearly heading in the direction of this sort of platform for games rather than a hardware kind of lock for their games.
Absolutely.
And I do think the price matters, because if you could shave this down, if this could be like $100, I bet you it'll sell like hotcakes.
Without a doubt. And like you were saying, when the question you were asking, who is this for? And I think the move that they're doing, it's not to test out the waters of this all digital sort of future that they envision, but also to get people already on board to the Xbox platform. You know,
Yeah.
if they can get them signed up right now at the ground level, when they release Scarlet eventually, they know they already have a built-in player base who are going to be ingrained to the Microsoft environment, and not just that, but to the Xbox like all digital future that they're trying to
because
sell.
like Steam was the same thing. Like nobody, like, and again, there was a bit of a magic in a bottle where it was like Half-Life 2 orange box. Like if you
Yep.
want it, you need Steam.
1.6.
Yeah, like exactly. Like so Valve sort of forced it on everybody, but we're all used to it now, so it's not like a big deal. I also just think computer games have always came in like cardboard boxes and they were like shitty. They never like upgraded. Actually, they might come in hard jewel cases now or something.
These giant boxes that they would sell them in.
Yeah, I honestly haven't bought physical PC games in a while, but that the guarantee of the Steam kind of, you know, environment that you'll always have your games library is part of that. So I think Microsoft and these digital kind of storefronts have become better where it's, you know, you're going to have those games because Microsoft isn't going anywhere in the near future, at least. So it's interesting. We'll see. I think the price point depends a lot because I think you could get an Xbox One S for like $200 right now.
Yeah.
So
and if you can drop, like you said, if you can shave that down to like between 100 and 150.
Yeah. I think
That's gonna
150
be like the
is like
magic price point.
the limit. Like after that, you're not going to sell any. But
Yeah.
if you could get it to 100, I bet you people who own Xboxes will get them because they'll just become Xbox Game Pass machines. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, see, and that's the thing. They already have the Xbox Game Pass. So you get one of these streaming consoles and you get Game Pass, and like you're set.
yeah, like
Because
I would
they're dropping
consider.
amazing games and putting all these titles on Game Pass already. Some games that are new releases that release on Game Pass day and date.
I could see me and my brother like splitting one just to put down in Rockaway at our parents' house for the summer when we go down there. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because at that point, all you need is you just need that to stream the games, and you have a good internet connection.
Yeah.
And you get any game that's available on Game Pass, and the One S doesn't do native 4K, but it does the 4K resolution, but it doesn't actually process in 4K, right?
I know
one of the two does actually pass through native 4K, and the other one upscales to 4K. I just forget
I think
which
One
one's
S
which.
does natively do it because I have the UHD discs or whatever for Planet Earth 2 for it.
Even better. And if this like $100 box does 4K and it streams in 4K,
yeah. I mean, it probably can, but streaming in 4K is like not a thing yet. So that's what's weird. Like because even for Netflix and stuff, like it's just handy. Like if it's $100, I think it could hit it. If it's 150, I think it might be a little too much, maybe.
Microsoft getting ready to make waves.
We'll see. Hopefully they don't completely abandon the idea of optical drives because there are people out there with shitty internet connections. And so on and so forth. So,
I don't think they will. When they're doing their next generation of consoles, I think they're going to have Scarlet. It's going to be their stream box, but I think they're going to have like a big honking box for all the purists out there.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Because Xbox Live, I know, is coming to like iOS and Android and stuff. So I think they're just kind of spreading as more of a service than anything else, which kind of ties into the next point a little bit, Berto, if you want to run through that.
Sure. So the next news point, which nice little segue from the all streaming future that we're striving towards, Google is set to make waves at GDC, which I think as of this recording, they're going to be presenting tomorrow. And they're set to make some waves of their own with what many expect to be an announcement of their own sort of streaming box dongle. Don't really know what kind of apparatus they're going to get, but I think it's going to be they're going to make their mark with streaming games. Google has a crap ton of cash. I did some research when I was reading into this to see exactly how much cash on hand they have, because obviously making
like
video games times like $1 billion.
Oh, okay.
Video games are not cheap. Creating video games are not cheap. Setting up a video game division is not cheap. And if there's a company that has the cash to start funding this kind of research, it's Google. as of year-end 2018, when they reported their financials, and granted, this is for Alphabet Inc., which is Google's parent company, so Google's a subsidiary, so not all this cash is Google, but Alphabet Inc. had $109 billion in cash on hand in their balance sheet between cash equivalents, and liquid assets. So that for accounting terms, that just means they have cash on hand to the tune of $109 billion. So they have the funds if they want to get into the video game space. And we've already seen that when they tested out Project Stream with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, that it actually works.
Yeah.
If you have a good enough internet connection and a decent enough computer, you don't need a super high-powered PC to play this game, to stream it. I think all you really needed was something like a netbook or a Chromebook. And granted, it's not going to be the highest frame rates, or the textures aren't going to be super pristine, but it works. It streams, and it streamed decent enough that you could play the game. So I'm getting ready to prepare myself for what Project Yeti, which I think is what it's called, is actually going to be.
It's interesting, and I actually got into the stream test or whatever for Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It was shocking how well it ran, especially because you just ran it out of like a Chrome browser. Like that was such an odd feeling of just like, yeah, I'll just bring up a window. So I imagine like I wonder if they're gonna do any sort of console sort of thing, like a little dongle or a little box. They could even sort of bundle it in with like Chromecast probably or something like that for TVs. But I imagine they're not gonna like start their own quote unquote game company. I think they're gonna start like a service, kind of like Xbox, Game Pass or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Where basically they're bringing titles to you without you needing the hardware to run them. The only thing is the patent for the controller looked awful.
Well, I mean,
it looked like a PS1.
That was just a render of the patent.
Yeah.
And granted,
I understand it's not what it really looks like, but woof.
It looked shitty. I give you that. It was. I saw the actual like paper that showed the patent design in like its drawing form, and then I looked at the render, and I was like, that thing looks like it looks like a bar of soap, kind of.
Yeah, it looks a little clunky, certainly. Which is, again, who cares? It's like a patent or whatever. Yeah, I see the render. You linked it here.
Yeah,
just,
it's like woof.
It's got like bat wings. It looks like it hurts.
and Google is serious about games, because I think not too long ago, they officially announced, or rather, through her own social media channel, Jade Raymond, who is a former executive and studio head for Ubisoft, and she worked at EA, announced that she's a VP. She was hired as a VP at Google specifically for their gaming division. So they're getting serious about, making quality games, or at least building up a quality games division. That being said, they're not without challenges in this space. First of all, they're going to have to overcome established names like Nintendo, Sony, PlayStation. It's like all those guys are already embedded, and now Google's coming in. People are going to be skeptical about that.
Well, do you think they're actually do you think they're going to develop titles? Or
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think this is mostly going to be as like a alternative, it seems like it's going to be spearheaded with like trying to make the streaming system a reality. And if that is really successful, they can look to take on some development from there. I mean, if there's news that they're already going to be doing development, then I'm just wrong. But I think that's kind of the aim of what they're doing right now. But I don't know. I feel like we talked about this a little while ago. I remember hearing about this concept back in like 2009 or 2010, and being like, oh, that'd be interesting if servers were good enough that you could do this type of thing. And it seems like it's possible, but I question how realistic it's going to be on a grand scale. It would take a momentous shift in the way that games are consumed in order for this to really take off, because I feel like the user base for it would have to be enormous to unload all that server capacity that's going to be used to be running these games. And the internet is just one of many factors that goes into that.
Yeah, and as well as like considering things like multiplayer games and stuff.
Right.
having played Assassin's Creed, the input lag was crazy not there, which was the big surprise to me. The game played like I had it in my living room. Obviously, there's some frame rate drops. There was some resolution scaling that happened dynamically. But yeah, like, can multiplayer work on something like this? I don't know. It's certainly not fast twitch stuff like Apex or Counter-Strike or something.
Yeah, where
like
you
that.
need those like extra quarter of a frame
Yeah.
reflex, and I don't know that this is going to be something like that. I don't think you're going to see this streaming future replace like gaming, esports or anything like that anytime soon.
It will be interesting. Just to me, the coolest part about something like this is the opportunity it gives for people to experience what normally requires high-end hardware. So things like running The Witcher, like it's essentially with a good enough internet, you can run The Witcher at 60 frames on ultra. And it, as well as like possible VR implications, like not having to have a crazy computer to run VR.
Very true. You don't need like you said, the dedicated hardware for VR. If they can just stream VR, I mean, eventually this is going to get to that point within given enough time and development.
And I do think there's one of the most popular apps for VR is it's like called Paint or Art or something. That's wrong. Paintbrush maybe or something.
I thought you said it's wrong because the answer is clearly Beat Saber.
Yeah, I mean Beat Saber, yes, is exciting. Did you see there was like a cheerleader that was playing it, and it was sick. She was so fucking sick at it. Little tangent for you. But I think Google developed the Paintbrush or whatever that game is. I believe is developed from Google.
It was like one of their experiences, and I think was it for the Vive?
I have it, so it's on the Vive. I know.
Yeah.
So something like as far as development, like Google might just kind of develop kind of projects like that, kind of like intuitive or not intuitive, ingenuitive, not exactly classic games. But I could see, to get something like this to take off, you kind of need exclusives a little bit, I think. So they might.
That's actually the next point that I was going to make. That in addition to like having a fast internet, I mean, there's a lot of ifs built into this whole statement about Google becoming like the next big thing in video games. You need a fast enough internet connection. You need a dedicated player base, but then to get the dedicated player base, you need the titles. And right now, Google doesn't have any titles unless they're planning on porting things over, which again, that's going to be a challenge also because they're going to have to go to Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo and say, hey, you want to license me some stuff?
Well, I think it'll kind of be like the test where you got Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which again is a third-party title from Ubisoft, and I don't see why third-party developers wouldn't want to license their stuff.
Third parties definitely.
So I could see it. My guess is the idea is going to do kind of like an Amazon Prime kind of thing, where it's like there's this Google game subscription, and that actually interests me because like single-player games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. If you could pay, $15 a month to run through one of those, like, might be worth it, I wouldn't have played Assassin's Creed Odyssey if not for that, which might have been a good thing because that game was really bad. But, like, I bought that game for Steam. It was so horribly optimized that it literally didn't run. And then I got the invite from Google. And it ran perfectly out of a Chrome window. So, even people like me who have nice desktops and shit, like can't run games sometimes. So it's interesting going forward. My guess is it'll be like kind of a subscription based kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what exactly it is that they present and what they show tomorrow at GDC, or whenever you're listening to this later today.
Is it a rumor that it's going to be the game thing at GDC, or have they announced that it's going to be the game thing?
I think it's a rumor because they just know that Google is doing some sort of keynote presentation at GDC. A lot of people are speculating that it's going to be the announcement of whatever this project.
So it might not actually be that, because there was a rumor flying around. Did you see the rumor that Sony was going to buy Take-Two Interactive?
Yeah, as soon as I heard that, I think that came out like last week, and I'm like, that is so much bullshit. There's no way that's
would
going
cost
through.
So much money. Like, are you kidding me? And then it came out that it was based on market speculation or something.
Yeah, they were like advanced boardroom speculation. I'm like, well, I don't sit on the board of any company, but I could tell you they probably talk about a lot of things. So if you say boardroom discussion going on about
some guy was
purchasing
probably
McDonald's.
hey, why don't we buy
for
Take
lunch.
Two? And they were like, you're an idiot. And then that was the end of the meeting. I can't imagine, because GTA Online just prints billions of dollars. Like, I don't think
there's
they'd be
no way. Can you?
easy to
Well, I mean,
purchase.
that's part of the reason why they were like, "Oh, it's a $1 billion valuation or some ridiculous number."
Yeah.
I'm like, "There's no way that's happening."
Yeah. We'll see. Who knows?
You want to take this last one?
Sure, I'll run into it. It's funny. We're very this is a very digital kind of news week going on here.
It's a digital future.
This one, and this is something we've been talking about a lot, so let's not go into too much of what we've already talked about. But couple things happened with the Epic launcher this week. Basically, there was something where, and I forget the original site that did it, but they were kind of testing what's running in the background of the Epic launcher, and they actually discovered that, and I think you have to link your Valve friends list or your Steam friends list for this to happen. I'm not 100% sure that it's all users. I think it's if you link your friends list. But basically, the Epic launcher has been gathering Steam user data, A, without the user's permission, and B, outside of the Steam API. So it's not even using like the correct channels for it.
Shady.
Which Epic launcher has been having. There's many issues with it, as far as a lot of people think it doesn't have enough features. The issue with buying exclusivity of games, Tencent being a monstrous investor in the company, which Chinese companies are not really known to care about IP rights or user data for that instance. They had a big leak of data recently, so this is just on top, a little icing on the cake, I guess. The CEO of Epic actually made a statement about this, said it was basically like a quick fix back in the day for Fortnite that was overlooked when they upgraded the system, which just sounds like PR nonsense. Like, quick fix? What are you talking about here, dude?
Yeah, it sounds like he's kind of just trying to throw some water onto the fire to be like, look, we're taking care of it. I'm sorry.
Like, yeah,
sorry,
this was just back when we were only a tiny little guy, like fighting for Fortnite or something. And Steam actually did announce, they were like, we're going to investigate this, because not only are you pulling user data from a direct competitor, but you're doing it outside of the regular means that Steam has available to everybody through their API. So, like, what do you guys think about this? I have been pretty anti-Epic launcher, pretty much from the start, just because the exclusivity. But this is even further worrying to me.
I think that this is just as one thing in a sea of things that are gonna be the ultimate demise of the Epic launcher. And we said this is like probably the third or fourth time we've talked about the Epic launcher itself. But the Epic launcher is trying to do something that no company has been able to do since 2007, and that's usurp Steam in terms of the digital marketplace for video games. And it's basic. I think the whole idea laid on 2 points. Okay, one, we're Epic. We just made Fortnite. It's like the biggest video game ever, and it has been for a little while. And two, we're very developer friendly, so we're going to get all these developers to release their games in the Epic store. But what is it for consumers? What is it that's going to make me, as a person who's a stubborn old nerd, to go, I'm going to download this Epic launcher and download a game that could be on Steam on the Epic launcher, and separate my game library into this? And the answer is nothing. And I guess this is just one of the many things that they're
the CEO actually made a statement about that, which has a lot of feathers ruffled. I saw it this morning on Reddit. He actually said the success of a virtual store is not going to be dependent on user satisfaction. It's going to be dependent on publisher satisfaction. So he literally said, like, we don't care about the users.
So basically he's saying our success does not it's not reliant on the customers.
Yeah,
and
like, we don't give a shit about you guys.
That's just wrong. I'm not offended by it. It doesn't bother me that you're saying that, but it's just incorrect.
I was about to say, Tim Sweeney, he's a smart guy. He's a brilliant guy, but that seems like basic economics to me. If you want something to succeed, especially a product that you're selling, you want it to sell.
Yeah, I think it was just a statement that he made without really thinking about it, because I understand what he means. He's like,
Yeah.
by giving developers their due cut of money, like we'll kind of beat Steam that way.
Yeah, and totally, and not to downplay like what the Epic Store is trying to do with giving developers a more favorable cut. I'm all for that. I think that if you make a game, you shouldn't be shysted out of the sales of your game. So I'm totally on board with what Epic is trying to do for the developer and the development community. But at the same time, you need like it. What good is giving a favorable split to your developers if you don't have customers coming to buy those games from the developers? So you need to put equal emphasis on your customers, just like you do with your developers.
And also, even the developer thing, like, it just seems so like all this shady shit that they've been doing. It just seems more and more like they're just gonna do that until they have enough people. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh well, if we can get exclusives, people will buy our shit. Like, it just feels more and more strategy and less like we actually want developers to make money. To me,
It's PR. That's what it. First and foremost, it sounds so good saying like, "Oh, we we care about developers." That'll get people to download our game library or store. Like, I don't know. If I had to make a prediction for where Epic is going to be 5 years from now, it's going to be basically non-existent, because as much success as they've had with Fortnite, I am fully under the opinion that it was an extremely lucky endeavor that they just caught the perfect wave off of the hype that was created from battle royale games, namely PUBG, and it's all downhill from here. But
yeah.
that's just a prediction.
Also, like, what
obviously.
happened
I mean,
at
I don't think completely
Tournament?
downhill, because they still
Remember
have
when they had
like,
Unreal Tournament? Like,
well, they still have the Unreal Engine. They
Yeah,
licensed
yeah.
that out, so that brings in a good chunk. So maybe not, to the stratospheric levels of success they have now, but once the battle royale craze dies down, and God willing, Fortnite will die down, because I can never. No, I'm
Well,
not.
just
I'm
as a
not gonna get it.
company, nothing Epic has done seems like a good decision, and they're one gigantic success, barring Unreal Engine, which again is, it's just like an engine that a lot of developers use. It's not necessarily like a successful game or something like that. Barring Fortnite, I don't see any major
Yeah.
future of Epic in the video games market.
And to be honest, aside from cranking out a few what's it called, Gears of Wars, like, they really haven't done any other video games recently. So
Well, yeah, 'cause I
interestingly
think they
enough,
sold
I
off
think
Gears
Apex
of War.
Legends oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, I think Gears of War is developed by the Coalition, which I think is a Microsoft studio now.
Oh, so they don't even have that anymore.
Yeah, they don't even have that anymore.
But even Apex Legends, I believe, is running on the Source engine, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see, as far as engine usage. I know Unreal is like a monster one, but maybe Valve is going to start kind of cutting in on them with that once Source
What?
2
Valve, with the Valve engine? No, that means they would have to make games again.
Source 2, dude. Source 2 or whatever it's
They don't
called.
That means that they would no. Valve doesn't make games or game engine. No, they do make games.
No,
They just don't make games.
They'll just make another Half-Life 2 episode.
That'd be so funny if they just released Half-Life 2 episode 3 and it was just same graphics and shit. Like, they didn't update it at all.
That would be amazing.
They just continued it.
I'd love that.
That would actually be dope. And it'd
So
be
would
funny
everyone
because
else.
everyone would
just,
be
They would
pissed.
just lap it up.
But everyone, like, if it was the
Everyone
same
would be
quality,
so salty.
Yeah.
It would not go over well. But I would like it.
They would
enjoy
hate
it.
play it.
Yeah. Well, E3 2019 or whatever, we'll see. Who knows? That'd be so funny. Oh my god!
You see Gabe Newell just come out and he's like, "I got something for you, punks."
Yeah, and they just
and
bring out
and he starts playing with his knives.
Yeah, they bring out like a gray yellow monitor and run it off like old hardware and shit.
Oh man,
that'd be an awesome move.
I'll tell you what, this I'm not happy about this shiesty nonsense that's going on with the Epic launcher, because I don't want Tencent figuring out my habits. I don't want them reporting that to, what's his name from whoever the leader of China is right now, whose name escapes me, who looks like Winnie the Pooh.
Xi Jinping?
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, I forgot his name, but I know he's Winnie the Pooh.
What's that, Tim?
Can't say that.
I can't say Winnie the Pooh or Xi Jinping.
I mean, we can't say both.
I
That's
can't
fine.
say what you can't say, so.
Oh, all right.
That's fine. We don't have any listeners in China.
It what must not be named. Whatever. That is the thing though, because like Chinese companies again and again, you've just seen like some kind of heinous shit coming from them. So, not the greatest thing to have. And like obviously they said like we would never send data to Tencent. Why would we? But it's sort of like. Yeah, but if they own 40% of your company, maybe you don't have to allow them to, and maybe they'll just do it.
Would never access your Steam information without asking for your permission.
Yeah.
I mean, we would never do that.
Yeah, until we did and we got caught.
Yeah, guys, you're safe. Did you agree to it? No, then they're not going to do anything.
It's funny because all the I read an article about this that said it was like all these crazy theories from fans aren't like it's all nonsense with the Tencent stuff, which maybe it is. But he said the real issue is the pulling data from a direct competitor and how much like that could be a huge like court kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Where you're pulling data from Valve.
I'm actually curious to see what Valve's own investigation of this comes out with, because like you said, if it's significant enough, or if they're pulling a certain kind of data or stream of data that Valve's like, yo, what the fuck? It could turn into some serious litigation.
Yeah. And Valve has actually shut down some sites before that have, I know they shut down a huge site that was scraping like Dota 2 info.
Actually, I do remember that. That wasn't too long ago, right? That was like the past couple of months.
I think it was like within the year, maybe, but it might have been almost a year ago. But I remember like, so Valve's not too happy with anyone pulling data. Certainly not their direct competitor in the marketplace. So
certainly not.
It should be interesting how this ends up. Hopefully, episode 2, or Half-Life 2 episode 3 comes out.
We'll see. Wait for it at E3 2019.
They'll release it on the Epic Store,
on the Source 1 engine as an
it's
exclusive.
on the Source 1 engine on the Epic Store, and you have to acknowledge
it just has like
that
some
you want to
crazy,
play it.
like super virus that just ruins Epic's servers.
It's like a 500-page end user license agreement, and at the very bottom or buried somewhere in there, it says that they have the ability to take all your data and your soul.
Yeah, and
sell it to Tencent,
and sell it straight to
and
Tencent.
Winnie the Pooh.
So yeah.
Oh shit, we can't say that.
That's most of the news for the week.
I mean, all the news that's fit for talking about anyway. At least the interesting bits.
Yeah. But it's kind of interestingly enough, the digital/PC gaming aspect of all this. Segment 3 this week. It's kind of open-ended. We'll see how it ends up here. But we're gonna do kind of Synics sell PC gaming to you, the listeners. I know some of you personally don't have PC games or PC. What am I trying to say? Don't have PCs. Yes.
They're not PC gamers. They like their consoles.
Which there's nothing wrong with that. I know there's the whole.
I used to be one of them.
Apple computers and a micro. I'm looking at you, Billy.
Your Macintosh.
Billy. With your Xbox. But no, essentially
Apple Control, Apple V. Everyone knows it's Control. Don't give me that Apple copy.
Apple V. Oh my god. I'm having flashbacks. I have an Apple laptop. It's the worst. It's actually really well built. Never mind. However,
at the computer labs at school in Binghamton, we used to have like the machines that were never in use were the iMacs.
Well, it's because you hit X and it minimizes.
For good reason.
It's like I hit X. Why wouldn't it close? It's like, no, it's still down there. It's like, why do you have a minimize button?
Spinning wheel. No one likes you.
But Mac versus PC aside, we recently have become a team of PC gamers. Berto's the newest to the team there. So and
I've joined the PC Master Race.
Having last night for the first time actually played some online PC games together, we thought it was a good time to kind of talk about PC gaming, not only just differences from consoles and stuff, but also in the gaming landscape. So I'm going to start off, Berto. as a new PC gamer who built a desktop,
Yes.
I want to say 2 months ago, maybe something. Like
About, yeah.
how are you acclimating? How are you enjoying it so far? What are you thinking? And for like,
Dude.
even how was the process of building a PC?
The process of building the PC was fairly straightforward. Thankfully, there's enough tutorials and videos out there on YouTube that even if you have no idea what you're doing and you just have a box of components in front of you, you can still more or less figure out your way through it. They're all very good about walking you through the do's and the don'ts and proper way of handling the components. So building the PC was actually very, very straightforward. It took me a couple of hours, obviously, just because I wanted to make sure everything was prim and proper. So that in and of itself wasn't very difficult, and it was actually a pretty fun process. Where it gets a little bit more tricky, and this depends on how OCD you may be with things like cable management. Obviously, you don't want to just shove all the cables in there and then be like, all right, I'm done, because one, that'll restrict the airflow, and then you start getting to the technicals of the overheating. But then two, if you have a case that has like a clear window, it just looks nasty. And again, I have that kind of level of OCD, so I was very particular about my cable management.
Did you build like an RGB build with all the lights and stuff, or?
Well, the only component that I have that's RGB, and that's because it came with my processor, was the fan. So I got the Ryzen 7 2700 or something.
Oh yeah, because the stock cooler has
and the Wraith Spire stock cooler already has like an RGB light around the ring. And the case I bought has 3 RGB front fans, but that's as far as I went with RGB. I know that people go crazy and buy like RGB RAM and RGB this and additional RGB lighting, and I'm like, no, that's too much lighting for me.
There's a recent trend, not that recent, but in the past couple of years, where everyone kind of lights their computer up in like a color scheme in a weird way. If you look up like battle stations on Instagram, you'll see a million of these.
I've noticed that like RGB is the word of the day with custom PC builders, and I'm like, okay, I don't get it. Maybe it's because I've just joined the PC master race. Eventually, maybe I'll get the RGB bug. That being said, when I finally built the PC and came to the moment of truth to boot it up, the thing didn't go to the post screen.
Ooh.
And I had never before, and I'm using a bit of hyperbole, but at that point I was so frustrated and dejected because I had spent like 2.5 hours building this thing, and I was waiting it for boot to the BIOS, and nothing fucking happened.
Yeah, well, 2.5 isn't bad actually. I've spent like
so
4 hours
upset.
before I built.
So I just like put the PC, like I set it aside, had work the next day because I built it over the weekend. So I went to work on Monday, and I talked to a bunch of my I'm on like this group chat at work that's a bunch of like gamer people. And I told them, they're like, so how'd your PC build go? You built your PC over the weekend, right? And I'm like, yeah, but the thing didn't fucking boot up. And they're like, oh, did you troubleshoot this and this and that? And I went to Google. I went to Reddit, checked out what are the most common sort of reasons why a PC wouldn't boot, checked them all. And then somebody in the group chat was like, are all your cables plugged in? And I'm like, fucking course. Like, what do you mean all my? And then I had like this moment of clarity because they're like, all the cables, because the graphics card is usually like an 8-pin. It's like a 3-2 like pin setup for an 8-pin, and I'm like, I might not have plugged in the 2-pin onto the motherboard.
Yeah, that's a fairly common thing. When you're building
with
a
renewed
desktop.
vigor after work, I went home, plugged it in, and then sure enough, the thing booted up, and then I was no longer a sad boy.
Yeah, generally, if you don't boot and BIOS doesn't pop up, like step 1 is don't panic, and step 2 is just check all the plugs. Like even just unplug them and replug them. My recent build, which I did, I don't know, a few weeks ago, was the first in a long time that I didn't boot straight to BIOS, and I was so sad. Like I was like, oh, why not? Because I've helped other people kind of do it, and usually it just works, and I'm like, yay. And it was weird because I checked all my plugs, and I just unplugged the power to the motherboard and plugged back in, and I just saw the lights come on, and I was like, oh, that's weird. But Tim, I actually helped Tim build somewhat recently a desktop. Tim, when was that? Like 2008, maybe?
Yeah, is that somewhat recently?
I was about to say 11 years ago. Then I recently.
I think I meant to say somewhat
graduated
not
college.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm living in the past. Who knows? But I
Yeah,
actually,
it was
I
like 2009 maybe.
yeah, but I actually sliced my finger on the little
Ooh.
motherboard kind of insert thing on the outside of the desktop, and I was bleeding profusely, and
Yeah.
didn't
There-
quite realize. So there's actual blood in, like, I sacrificed Tim's
So
PC.
literal blood, sweat, and some tears
Yes.
on that computer build.
Just blood.
Mostly just blood. I was
No
sweating,
sweating?
probably, but it was in my basement, so at the time it was kind of cool.
But yeah, it's been a fun experience, and I am thoroughly enjoying PC gaming. I never before had gotten into PC gaming just because the price point was so was like sort of the limiting factor at the time. My family didn't have we just didn't have the funds to buy a gaming PC. The only PC we had was like a your standard desktop for just word processing and doing stuff at home. And also I had my video game consoles, so I had a pretty good substitute for gaming. And I never really felt the urge to save money to build a gaming PC because whatever games came out on PC, I was like, well, I could play them on Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4. But now that I'm working and make my own money, I was like, fuck it. I'm building a high-end, super awesome gaming PC with lights and shit.
Yeah. It's kind of thing. If you ever been thinking about it, the build process, while being a little scary, I think is like kind of invaluable. A, because it's just so much more satisfying when you do actually use the computer, like, and B, it's sort of, you kind of know the ins and outs a little bit, so you can kind of troubleshoot a little better. If things go sour down the line, if someone says, if you Google an error and it's like, oh, it's probably due to, poorly seated memory or something like that, you could be like, okay, pop open the thumb screws and just unseat and reseat the memory chips. But yeah, it's definitely worth looking into. I think building is important. I know, Tim, recently you were considering, if you were going to do another one, you were considering just like getting someone to build it for you. Have you had any experience with that at all, Tim, or you haven't really done that?
No, I've gotten pre-builts before. In high school, I guess the first like actual like gaming geared computer that I got was pre-built from ABS. I believe they still exist. And it's just kind of like you pick your components and they assemble it and ship it to you. And I know there's tons of companies that do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of like the concept of building your own computer is really enjoyable, but after you've done it a certain amount of times, it's like, okay, I unless like the specific hobby aspects of it appeal to you, like there isn't as much of a price difference between a pre-built and just getting the components individually anymore.
Yeah,
If
I
you
think it's
find
like
good deals.
$100 or 150
Yeah.
usually. It is funny though, because there is the like, oh man, I'm gonna have to sit and spend 3 hours. Like, I enjoy it, but I will agree, like there is a bit of a like, oh man, like it'd be so easy just to go to not Micro Center, I guess, anymore. But like, just get someone to do it for you. Don't go there; you won't get your.
Well, at
Anthem
least
code.
not the one in Yonkers. If you're willing to take a drive, there's one in Flushing, and I think there's one in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
Just don't
Just
do
don't.
it.
They won't give you your Anthem code.
They'll give you an expired one.
Yeah. It's funny. My first own computer that I saved up for was actually a similar thing, but I got it from Dell. Like at the time, Dell was offering you could custom build a computer on their website, and I remember like I read in PC Gamer or something like oh, Dell's actually like a good choice for gaming. And I think it was 6th or 7th grade I like did that, and that was my first actual like PC. And then later I ended up building one. But yeah, it's satisfying, but it doesn't. There are downsides to it, which is that if something goes wrong, you just have to figure it out essentially,
Yeah.
or
Because
you
if
could
you-
take it somewhere to get diagnosed. But it's
Yeah,
not
because
quite
you no
the-
longer have that warranty that comes with the desktops you
like-
buy.
Yeah, you have like the parts warranty, but not quite the other thing.
Yeah.
But shifting a little bit, what'd you guys think? And this is mostly for you, Berto, but like we did play Anthem last night together. What do you think the difference, like from playing on Xbox or playing on PS4 or something like that? Like, did you enjoy the difference? Was it better? Was it worse? Did you think it was hugely different or kind of similar?
I think had I played Anthem on my PS4, because I don't have an Xbox One X, I only have PS4 as my current next gen console. I definitely would have noticed a graphical improvement. I have a 2070 in my current build, so I have almost like current, like whatever the current top of the line graphics is. I don't know exactly which variant of the 2070 I have off the top of my head, but I know that the graphics that my computer puts out now probably rivals or even puts to shame my my PS4. So I definitely would have noticed a very, very smooth graphical 60 frame per second, buttery smooth, textures, and like my PS4 would not be able to do that. And plus, this is a hell of a lot quieter than my PS4. My PS4 is like one of the early ones where it sounds like an airplane's about to take off.
Yeah.
So that's also a plus where I can barely hear my PC when it's running. Whereas when I'm playing my PS4, it's like,
yeah. I also have one of the first PS4s, and it's so loud. It's crazy.
So loud. When my wife and I were playing Monster Hunter World, like her PS4 is super quiet. She's playing, and then I'm here like fighting an Anjanath while also like trying to keep my PS4 from blowing up.
Yeah. I've always it's funny because traditionally all my online playing has been kind of on PC. It's only really recently that I started playing a lot of stuff, mostly with Billy on Xbox and stuff, but playing on PS4 as well. I know we played I guess it was Destiny 2 once or twice on PS4. I think I fell asleep during one of them.
Yeah, your Guardian was kind of just hanging around.
Yeah, that game's boring, by the way, at certain points. For me, and this is a weird nitpicky thing, but like the voice chat ability for PC like is so far above and beyond that of consoles that I've always think that is like one of the true strengths. Being able to have push to talk buttons, real easy setup. Yeah. Being able to have things like Discord or vent servers where you can just join, you don't have to like send invites and stuff. I always thought that was a huge bonus. Speaking of, was it fun playing? I mean, 4 people. I don't think we've ever played a game with 4 people on PS4. So it was kind of fun. We had my buddy Marino in there, and it was like it's kind of goofy. I don't know. Like Tim, did you enjoy Anthem? Like, did you enjoy the team play aspect of it, or did you just think it was fun just goofing around?
I mean, I'll save that for next episode. how I feel about it. But I mean, it was great playing games with you guys, and I mean, for me, like I got into PC gaming. Yeah, probably a similar age to you, Garrett. But like the idea of having like your own kind of like setup, and like everybody gets in. It's very like futurist, if you will. Like it's kind of like a Ready Player One sort of thing where you have like this is like you like your setup and you launch into it, and then you play it with a bunch of people online who all have their setups, and you all have everything kind of slightly customized in a way that's best for you, and everyone has their own things. Not even getting into the whole mouse and keyboard aspect, which is a topic of debate, but it's just it's a financial burden, but if you can afford it, I've always
the price point is definitely part of the negative of PC gaming. Yeah. Although,
well, I mean, in recent years, and I mean recent years, like maybe within the past, using Garrett's scale recently, within the past maybe like what 8 to 10 years, when cryptocurrencies became a thing, that's really when you saw the price point of PCs really take like a big jump, because that's when they were swapping up pretty much every and any graphics card available to build these like powerful mining rigs. So you had that graphics card scarcity where if you had a graphics card that normally retailed for like $300, all of a sudden you're finding the same one for $600 just because it's you can't find it anywhere.
What's nice right now is that sort of has fixed itself a little bit. Mm-hmm. Part of the reason I was so quick to build a new desktop when mine started getting real fritzy is that all the prices kind of have normalized. Video cards are still expensive for the most part, but like RAM's back down. Hard drives are cheap as anything. so right now is like a decent time. And I think you can build. They have these builds online that's like PS4 quality desktop builds, and I think usually those run around like $400-$300. So it's not like a monumental price thing. Like you don't need to go out and build a $2,000 PC unless you want top of the line shit.
That being said, if you buy a $2,000 PC, you're set for a while.
Yeah,
you're
nice
gonna
and future-proof.
Set for a good year too. It's great.
Yeah, up until the next video cards come out, and then everyone laughs at you. This is another weird bonus thing, and I'm kind of piggybacking on you, Tim, because the feature and the setup is always awesome. Like you could pick your own mouse, you could pick your own key, you get a super clacky keyboard. I just typed into the notes, but that's always cool. But like the ability to have an easy second monitor is also amazing to me. Even right now, I have 4 windows up. I got recording, I got Audacity, I got Hangouts, and I got the notes. I've always been so appreciative of the dual monitor setup, like just being able to play a game, and especially for streaming, even for multitasking. Back in the day, for me, it was high school homework. I would put homework up here and then Counter-Strike on the other one, and during deaths, I would type my essay. But I do think you are right, Tim, that the kind of custom idea of it is really cool because you can kind of tailor it to your experience. I'm
actually lacking a second monitor at the moment, and it's killing me.
Yeah, you gotta upgrade. Although it's funny because I was thinking, like, essentially, if you're playing on Xbox and you just have a laptop, you can kind of do it. Like, you can do a Discord chat. You can do it. It's just you're taking an extra step and convincing. I've had this recently. Convincing console players to join a Discord server is like pulling nails, dude. Nobody, they're like, "What's Discord?"
They live and die by their consoles.
Yeah,
like you try and get someone who's a dedicated Xbox player to like try something on the PS4. Now, outside of that, just instead of going from one console to another, take it out of that context completely. Be like, now play something totally different on not even a console. Like if within a console, it's hard enough. Tell them not a console, but now you're going to play on this, thing you do your homework on.
It's funny because I run Xbox chat on my desktop so that I can run it through the mic. So I always have problems with that because if somebody invites me to their party, I can't accept it because it'll join me on the console. So I actually am the problem creator on those. But so the console wars, right? That's always been a bit of an issue, exclusivity and so on and so forth. And PC certainly does not, I would say, have the exclusives. I don't know if you guys would agree with me. Definitely a lot more back in the day. You used to have a lot more exclusives. It's kind of petered out in the past decade or two, I would say. But now it's interesting because PC, now we're getting this launcher service kind of disparity, which, again, I've run into in the past couple of days where you got Division 2, which I've been playing, which is through the Ubisoft launcher, or whatever, or the Epic Games launcher, if you want to do it that way. Playing Anthem, which, as you guys know, is through Origins, EA Origins. You got Steam, which doesn't exactly have exclusives, but you have like a million different launch services now. And I actually think that is becoming worse and worse because everyone... like playing Anthem with like Marino is running into problems where it's like his account was hacked because he hasn't used it in 2 years and he had to solve that problem. Things like even Tim, you were trying to get the download code. It's like you have to go through EA support because it's an EA game or whatever. I think that's kind of getting worse too. I don't know if you would agree.
It's an issue for sure, but it's kind of like a symptom of a disease that's not even possible on consoles. It's like that's one of the greatest things about PCs. You were kind of getting into it. It's not just a game console. And I know that not like every game console is trying to not just be a game console, except for maybe the Switch. But it's not. It's you can do all this shit on a PC that you can't do on on other consoles. And if that means that you have to download like different programs in order to get certain games, as annoying as it is and as stubborn as I can be about it, it's just it's the nature of the beast when it comes to PC gaming.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember discovering in middle school and stuff like emulation and stuff, and all these different things that you can do on a PC that you just like. I mean, you can run emulation on consoles, but it's like it's a different ballpark.
And it's always been
hardware,
a
Totally
lag
different beast.
situation where it's like whatever PCs are doing, consoles can kind of do like 10 or 15 years later usually.
Yeah, and it's just the scope of what you can do on a PC is
mods too.
so better.
Mods are big.
Yeah.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
Macho Man in Skyrim.
That's exactly what I was thinking of just now.
That's a big plus.
Oh, yeah.
It is funny though, because like and I believe some mods have come to Xbox and PS4 and stuff.
Yeah,
but
but
like
so much better on PC. You get the Thomas the Tank Engine mod,
and the scope of some of the stuff you get. Stalker, which came out I believe in 2007, and is this sort of like Stalker's this niche like masterwork of a PC game. I don't think it came out on any other consoles. I think subsequent releases did maybe. But the original Stalker code is so terrible. Like shooting a guy is very difficult. Like the accuracy of guns is too much. And basically mods is what made that game playable. There's a Stalker Complete mod I remember I downloaded, which basically it fixes the gun physics so that you're not just like missing 9 out of 10 bullets. Which is funny because it's a celebrated game. Like people love Stalker. It's one of their favorite games on PC of all time. But if you leave it in its original state, it's actually garbage. Like it's not good at all. So things like the DS fix for Dark Souls, which is something we'll probably get into a little bit later. But fixing ports and stuff, you have companies that take a year to fix a port of a PC game, whereas some guy on forums usually could fix it in 2 days. DS fix being one of those where it kind of fixed the frame rate because it had a locked frame rate. So the game ran at like 30 FPS or something nonsensical.
It's just heresy for a computer.
Which really is, that's a big deal. Like 30
I'm starting to learn that.
Yeah. Like, oh my god. Which is funny.
I'm practicing like my incredulous reaction when somebody tells me that they only have like 30, 35 FPS. I'm like, how do you live with yourself?
You gotta do this.
I know, right? I'm like,
you gotta do the carrying
30, only 30 FPS.
But it is like a kind of and there's all those jokes about PC master race or whatever. Like who really cares if you get 100 frames versus 60 or whatever? But like playing Dark Souls at 60 frames and playing Dark Souls at like 19 frames on PS3 is like it's a world of difference.
Absolutely.
Which I think is funny because again it was a modder that did it. Things like Warcraft 3 custom maps, like you would never see that on console.
Let alone an RTS in general.
In general, yeah. I don't know if it's weird to have the mouse and keyboard discussion nowadays because I know you can hook up mouse and keyboard to console games now. I think Microsoft allows that.
Yeah, but it's still like a different feel because I think part of it is that when you think of a console, you're like on a couch, big TV, laying back. Trying to do that on a mouse and keyboard versus a PC, you think you have a dedicated like kind of office space. You have your little desk set up. You're sitting down. It feels a lot more conducive to mouse and keyboard.
True.
Versus like lying on a couch playing mouse and keyboard. That being said, I'm pretty sure there are people who have like giant mouse pads, lie down playing mouse and keyboard on a couch, and they're still just as good.
Yeah,
that's fine. But they're just never going to design games for that.
You're right, Tim.
It's such a like an afterthought to the whole idea.
Yeah. Although I did play StarCraft on N64s. I'm just saying. I don't know if you remember.
I remember.
Speaking of remembering,
we don't speak of that.
What about some old school PC games? Like, what were some of that? Because that's what's funny. I feel like everyone in our generation did play PC games. It was just before they required dedicated graphics cards.
I was about to say back before they required dedicated graphics card or used integrated sound.
Yeah.
Let me take you guys back.
Take us back.
I'd say probably 1996. Windows 95 was so fresh and recent. I got my start with really I don't know if this counts as PC gaming, but aside from like Reader Rabbit and Math Blaster and the games that my parents wanted me to play, I played so many of those giant shareware compilation games. It would be
Oh my god.
dude.
like 100 games, and
Yeah.
like you launch it, and you're like, oh, this is sick, and like maybe 15% of them actually run.
Yeah.
And of those, like maybe like 1 or 2 of them is actually good.
Yeah. You got
But
like Fly Swatter where you just clap flies and shit. Like they were like bad Flash games, basically.
That was the proto internet for me. It was just like, there's 100 games. I'm never gonna run out of games. I'm never gonna be able to play all 100 of these. That's what the internet's like.
I
And
pulled an all-nighter with Phil playing through one of those, and then I went to France the next day and could barely walk. That's so funny that you brought
That is
those up,
hilarious.
because I wasn't even thinking of things like that. Because weirdly enough, and I always think of like my first video game was Balloon Kid on Game Boy, which is wrong. That was the first game I bought for myself, where I chose it at Tops. I remember, but I grew up like we had Warcraft Orcs and Humans when it came out on like a gateway in my basement. For some reason my parents just like, I don't think they got the whole gore violence thing or whatever, but I was playing Warcraft on DOS. Like I don't know how old I was. I must have been like 4 or 5. You know what I mean? Like it was way back. I remember playing Doom. We had Doom. We had Duke Nukem
Doom.
3D. We were running things on DOS like way back in the day. So technically PC gaming was my first experience with gaming. And it was legit games. That's what's funny. It wasn't quite the, we had Oregon Trail and stuff like that. And I ended up with some of those compilations like you were saying, Tim, but like it must have been my dad, because my dad, he got Myst. We played through Myst when that came out. Kind of the old school, like great PC games. Which is funny because like, did I influence that? Did I ask for that for Christmas or something? I feel like it was like my dad maybe might have been interested in them, and I just didn't realize. But yeah, there was never a part in my life where I wasn't playing PC games of one sort or another. My first desire to upgrade a desktop was because I was playing EverQuest on, again, like a Gateway 2000 or something, and I would have to like load into an instance. They weren't quite instances, it's just a new zone. And it would take me like 8 minutes to load the zone. So whatever party I have would just kick me every time, like, because I would like try to load in and then they would just assume I disconnected or something. Like that game, if my mom gave me an hour to play, a good 25 minutes of it would be loading time because we were running it on a computer that had no business running it.
I actually, I was able to run Diablo 2 on my computer, but the expansion was actually too big to fit on my hard drive.
Oh my god.
That was the first time I had to get an upgrade.
And it was probably like what, 500 megabytes or something?
It was a gigabyte. It was
it was a full gig. Okay.
But I didn't have a gigabyte hard drive.
That's wild. That's hilarious.
Oh man, I'm like looking over like old DOS games, and some of these are just bringing back floods of memories. There was one.
I don't know if you remember Descent. It was like a first-person like airplane shooter thing.
I played that a couple years ago.
That game's pretty dope.
I might have to go back and like if I can find some of these games on like GOG or like Steam, I might just get them just to play them again.
Dude, Warcraft 2 over the phone. You would phone Phil and play. I feel like I played a lot of games with Phil back in the day.
Telephony is what I would say.
What did you say? What did you say?
Telephony.
Telephony.
That's it. Like you'd have like these like multiplayer options. It would be like over direct connect, like TCP/IP, and then like telephony.
Telephony, yeah, where you just call them, and it's like you'd scream to your family like, "Don't pick up," and you'd play Warcraft against each other.
So there's this game, Jazz Jackrabbit.
Oh, I know Jazz Jackrabbit.
Oh my god! And I'm like looking up.
Didn't
like
they
I
come
just
out
brought
on
up the
Sega
Wikipedia
and
page,
stuff?
and it's just bringing back a flood of memory. Cliff Bleszinski, one of his first design games.
Oh wow! I did not know he was involved
Cliff
in that.
Bleszinski, he of Gears of War fame. He was like the creative director, or like the executive producer for the Gears of War series early on. But yeah, he was one of his early games.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was also. I think for me, it was always the multiplayer aspect that really kept me in PC gaming, because PC gaming was sort of miles ahead of consoles at the time, where you had things like Warcraft BattleNet Edition and eventually like Diablo Online and so on and so forth. And then like I remember when I was playing Counter-Strike and everyone was talking to me about Halo, and I was like, no, like, dude, it's like Halo sucks. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm still like that.
I mean, yeah, it is. It's such a different world nowadays where consoles are sort of ahead of PCs in a lot of ways as far as game releases and stuff. But that multiplayer aspect to me was always big. If I'm not mistaken, Tim, I feel like I sort of brought MMOs, like World of Warcraft, I feel like was me because I had played EverQuest and I was like, you guys got to like look at this game. Or am I wrong in that?
I mean, I'm sure you influenced it.
Okay, because I do think World of Warcraft was obviously Counter-Strike and Warcraft 3 was big in our friends group, but World of Warcraft was like everyone needed to build their own PC.
Convincing my parents to let me get a subscription-based game was a nightmarish task.
I can imagine.
That was a big deal back then. We had like a weird ring where, because I remember Warcraft 3, I remember Noah was trying to get it. And Noah's like everyone sort of had at the time it was a very in thing for parents to like worry about video games. And we had this weird thing where it was like if we could prove that other kids had the games, we could maybe like influence parents one way.
So you guys were like colluding
yeah,
to try and angle your way to get the game.
Which was funny because I sort of always had that. Like my parents didn't. I think again, like I had Duke Nukem 3D when I was like 6 or whatever. Like
throwing them dollar bills in them digital ladies.
Yeah, I feel like my parents never quite caught on to the fact that games are can be extremely violent and so on. But like I was already doing it, so whatever. But I remember like having to talk to like Brendan's parents and be like, no, Warcraft 3, like it's top down, it's cartoony, like it's really not like that. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, when you play online, people are shit talking, like, you know, like the vulgarities.
My parents had like this staunch, I don't know whether they actually believed it or whether it was just something they would tell me so that it would be a reason so they could tell me like why they weren't, you know, they didn't want me to play games, but they basically fully believed that if you played online games with people, you were just like opening yourself to viruses and you were just gonna get viruses. And, you know, I guess in some ways they could have been right.
Yeah, I could see that.
But
I mean, the ill-informed nature.
It like I remember having like early on once we got the internet, I had to be stealthy about the fact, you know, about my online game playing because of that. And so I was always behind when it came to online games. You know, like World of Warcraft was the first MMO that I played, but it was not the first MMO that I wanted to play. I will say that much.
I remember trying to get Ultima Online to run on like a Windows garbage desktop or whatever. That was a nightmare.
So I'm gonna make a statement that I've made to you guys before, but I'm gonna say it on air right now. That's gonna make PC fans everywhere, you know, shit a collective brick. But I play games on a gamepad with my PC.
I was gonna say let's bring it back to more modern stuff. You know what's funny though is as of last night I was shocked at, and again I think for me and Tim it's like we've kind of been playing on PC for so long. I was shocked at like I think Chris is playing the Division 2 on controller, maybe. I think Marino's using a controller for Division 2 and Anthem. I was shocked that like everyone was like, no, let me grab a controller. But well, I think I get it.
You got to think about it. We're all converts.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like when you told me you were playing Anthem on a controller, I was like, for what reason? Like, which is funny because Anthem's not really like a high. Like, you don't need like crazy aim or anything.
No. It's definitely a game where you don't need the precision and accuracy that a mouse offers over the dual sticks. But like you said, that being said, it probably would have been a good game for me to start actually building that, you know, muscle memory in my fingers and mouse hand. I
mean, essentially, if I thought about it, it's like the only real game types where a keyboard and mouse really matters is first-person shooters, and not even that much, depending on the first-person shooter. But RTSs, which again consoles don't even really have. And I would say like MMOs, games where you just need a lot of buttons, honestly. Where you need a lot of keybinds. But it's funny to me because when you said Anthem, I was like, but you're gonna have so many less buttons. But like you don't need a lot of buttons in Anthem, so I guess it's not really necessary. And even like playing the Division 2, I feel like I'm worse off for playing on PC because it clearly the controls were designed with consoles in mind. So I actually struggle a little bit with the PC controls because it's just they have sort of weird keybinds and they have a lot of like holding down the button. That's a new trend in games nowadays where it's like to do something you hold the button down.
I don't like that trend.
Which I hate. I actually hate it. But I get it because essentially you allow for a second input of a button on a controller. So it makes sense for controllers. But it's really weird on PC to like hold down the F button to like pick something up. It's like, why don't I just hit F? Like, you know what I mean?
Can I just like double hit F maybe instead of just holding it down?
Yeah, like that's weird to me. I think a good finishing concept here would actually be to talk about how PC gaming in more modern days has not only sort of struggled with game releases and ports, but how it's starting to change a little bit. There's a recent article, I brought it up on thegamer.com, but I'm sure it's on a million other things. It came out about a month ago or so. But Capcom actually sees, and they released a statement that they want to focus on PCs for their newer game releases. This comes from Monster Hunter World. The first time that was on PC and the huge success it was on PC. Capcom is going to put a lot more effort into their PC ports, which we've seen in not Dead Rising, in Resident Evil 2.
Resident Evil.
The remake, and as Tim can attest, the DMC 5 on Steam and PC. So it's kind of cool because like I feel like PC gaming is sort of coming up again. Does that make sense? Does it feel like there's not
getting like a
wave?
renaissance where it's not uncommon for you to want to play a big name release on your PC versus on a console?
Yeah. And I think in part it's due to the rising popularity of games like Fortnite and PUBG and stuff, where the majority of users, I believe, are on PCs worldwide, just because countries in South America have a lot of LAN cafe cultures. So they're usually playing PC games in LAN cafes, as well as like the first person elements, like the edges to have the mouse and keyboard, as well as streamers generally favor the PC release because they're the professionals, if you will. So it's kind of cool to see, like, I think PC gaming's like has been shunned for a little bit with the catch up of console online services and so on and so forth, where it's like things generally PC releases have been an afterthought of games.
I feel like it's
agree or
it's
disagree
like coming
with me,
out of the shadows. I feel like
things
as
like
you were saying, as the consoles were like getting built up and sort of catching up to where PC gaming had been years ago, it's like PC gaming has become even more and more of a niche thing and kind of get pushed off to the side.
Yeah. And things like having played Ni no Kuni 2 as a PC port, it was embarrassingly bad. I mean, the game itself isn't too great either. And I know Japan's a little different because Japan PC gaming just basically doesn't exist. So I understand when Japanese companies don't care that much about it. But it's nice because like Capcom giving some love is like,
which is surprising
yes.
that Capcom, being a Japanese company, would make it known that they want PC gaming to be a thing for them in addition to their console releases.
And again, I think it's just Monster Hunter World did well, so they're like, oh, hey, there's something to this.
Exactly. It's like, hey, people play games on PC. I mean, like I said, being a recent convert, I want to get, like, I played Resident Evil 2. I've been playing it on my PC. It looks fantastic. It's beautiful, beautiful game on PC, running on high-end graphics. I want to get Devil May Cry 5. I'm going to get that on PC.
So in the future, if
Halo
there are...
Master Chief Collection, they're releasing that on Steam.
That is also, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I want to get that on PC because it's going to be the first time that Halo Reach is going to be available on PC. So totally want to replay that on PC. Because
I am a strict kind of if there's a game that's released on all consoles, and I'm going to buy it on Steam. There's rarely any reason for me to not buy it on Steam. Tim, are you kind of like that as well, or?
Yeah, the only exception for me is like the portability of the Switch, and obviously exclusives. But I mean, as someone with like a decent computer, it's like it's just gonna run better. You're not gonna be locked to the frame rate that the console wants you to be. You can tool around with your settings better. You can use whatever controller or mouse and keyboard that you want. Like, there's so many reasons that if you have all these options, that the PC is just the best one. But I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah. Like Berto, would you say if Kingdom Hearts came out on PC right when it came out, would you get that on PC, or do you think you would have stuck with PlayStation for it?
I think I would have seriously considered PC if it
Okay,
was
cool.
if it wasn't
Yeah.
just a exclusive to Xbox, and well, I guess it's not exclusive because it was both Xbox and PlayStation 4, but had it been across all, across the board, I would have really considered getting it on PC.
Interesting. So we got a convert. We got the first
Yeah,
one.
I mean, I'm telling you, when games release on multiple platforms now, I'm not going straight to the PS4. Like, the only reason I'll buy a game on PS4 now is if it's a PS4 exclusive, like a God of War or something like that.
Yeah, it's
But,
always it's funny because the convenience of Steam for me is the number one reason I do it, which is I have that huge console huge game library that just is gonna come with me wherever I go. I just have to install it, and I got it. But not to mention, like, I have a very nice quality mic. I have really nice headphones. Like, like everything about the experience is nice. The only real thing is I don't have a big TV to run on, but I can always just throw an HDMI cable that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
very true.
So it's something worth considering if you're not already playing PC games. Not to mention the sales and the prices. I forgot all about that.
Get them humble bundles.
Humble bundles
Recoup some of the money that you spent on
that's
really expensive computer.
In the long term, you will save money, I swear. Except for the fact that you're going to be buying
that you won't.
Yeah, not at all, because you'll buy 40 games from Steam instead
and then
of
play
2.
like 5 of them.
Yeah. But it's funny because the Humble Bundle, some of the they're no longer available, but some of the bundles that have come out for Humble Bundle have been amazing games. Like a good 6. I remember there was one that was like Braid. I think it was Super Meat Boy, Braid. Was FTL in that one? I can't remember.
Wow, that was like right when indie gaming started becoming a thing.
It was right when indie gaming sort of took off, and that's when it was the indie Humble Gaming Bundle or something originally, where it was basically, here's a bunch of indie games, pay whatever you want for them because we want you to play them.
Right.
And number 5 of them, I remember having like incredible stuff. I think Limbo was in there. It was these top 10 games of indie games, and you could get it for $1. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of value out there. Also, the backwards compatibility of it is another thing we haven't quite touched on. Like, you can play most ancient games that have been converted to Steam or so on and so forth. I know Tim and I did some DOSBox stuff, and I think I was able to play Orcs and Humans, wasn't I, Tim? With the original CD?
I still use DOSBox.
Oh, you do? Okay. So you can even play a game that came out in like 94? I don't know when that came out, but
How do you think I played through Dungeon Master 2?
Dungeon Master 2. That's amazing. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll make you a convert if you're not already in. I know I've been slowly kind of seeping into people's consciousness, all my friends, and being like, dude, build a desktop.
If you build it, you can play the games.
Yeah, we can play,
at high graphics.
It's so funny because some of the games that me and Tim have played together, it's like you could play Diablo 2 together.
You don't say. I could play Diablo 2
or Hexing Co-op, which that was fun when we did that.
I mean, I was just talking about how I want to go and get Jazz Jackrabbit again on Steam. So there you go. It's a game from 1996.
Yeah, and they have all sorts of weird mods to like play multiplayer of weird games and stuff. So, anything else you guys have to add on PC gaming? What do you think?
PC gaming. I'm a convert.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good. You can stream it and stuff, or if you want to. You need
PC is there for more than doing your taxes.
Yeah. Yeah. You could do taxes on them and stuff. Also, word processing. So that is probably gonna wrap up the episode. Let us know. Did we convince you? Do you think PCs are the devil? Xbox forever? Do you think RTS games are overrated? Let us know. Reach out. I hope this is like a bit of a controversial episode, which is funny because it shouldn't be. But I know the console wars thing is a big thing.
To you
for
PC
people.
purists out there, how much did your blood boil when you heard that I play
Yeah.
on
What if we just
gamepad?
get
Let me know.
hundreds-
I want all the hate.
Hundreds and hundreds of hate mail from Shrek fans about me illegally downloading Shrek Smash and Bash Racing or whatever.
And we're probably gonna get blacklisted on somewhere in China if anyone listens to us. So
oh yeah, 10 cents onto us.
ball though.
But yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you still are listening, just a reminder, our Games Club game, about 2 weeks from now, we will be doing an episode on Anthem. So if you have played it, if you want to play it, maybe don't, because it doesn't have the
Don't
best
tell them
reviews.
that.
No, so far we're enjoying it, but we'll see. Maybe we could play it so you don't have to if it does end up
We'll see what it's
bad.
like when we get to the strongholds.
Yeah, we'll let you know. But if you want to check out our stuff, we got splitscreencynics.com. Split screen Synics, take out the E's. Also misspell with an S, the Synics part. On Instagram, if you want to check that out, I kind of do posts on all our announcements and stuff on there. There will be a YouTube channel going up this week with just some of our episodes. No video yet. Hopefully in the future we'll have some video. But just kind of the episodes up there, just if you want to listen on YouTube or whatever. Berto, what do you got?
Outside of what Garrett just mentioned, you can also find us on Twitter. Same handle for Twitter. It's Split Screen Synics, but screen spelled SCRN, and also Synics spelled with a S instead of C because we're different, and also because it makes sense.
It's so
Not
funny because
really.
I never mention. I'm always like, take out the E's, but like Synics is also horribly misspelled.
That's fine.
Sorry.
But that's where you can find us on Twitter, so you can get us there. You can get at me on Twitter and Instagram and pretty much all social media at I'll be the one and only. And again, Anthem, play it, let us know how it is. And also find us at PAX East. We want to hear from you. We want to meet you. We want to game with you. So
Go to
if you're
Trillium.
there,
I'll
let's go
buy
to
you
the
a
Indie
beer at
Mega booth.
Trillium.
Let's play some games together. Let's hang out.
We'll get beers afterwards. Are we gonna?
Hell yeah, we
should
will.
we sign up for those weird after parties, Berto?
Are there a weird after party? I'm totally down for signing
should
up to
register
all the
for-
weird after parties.
We should register for one of those and like.
Let's register to all the weird after parties. We'll meet all the weird people and
Yeah.
all the cool video game industry people.
They're probably awesome. Actually, it's probably,
Yeah.
they're probably sick. Tim, give us a shout out.
Please donate to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/buttscreendaddy. There's no E's in the screen, so it's CRN.
But screen
And we've got
Daddy.
tier rewards. There's tons of everything. It's a great place to hang out.
Was that a
that's
reference to what you named your Pokemon when you traded them?
It's just my Patreon.
But didn't you name your Pokemon Butt Daddy or something like that?
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
All right, fair.
But Daddy defeated Brock.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to plug my own thing. Twitch.tv/Garrett gets into if you want to see me stream things and stuff. I'm probably gonna stream tonight. Who cares? Thank you so much again for listening. This has been episode 22. Keep on gaming. Bye bye.
Opening my locker.
I don't get that reference, Tim.